I'm going to show you how to find podcast clips that will go viral. Wait until the end of the video to find out the secret trick that will blow up your videos like they've never done before. And hopefully by the end of the video, you'll be able to spot viral clips in any podcast. Let's get into it. For this example, I'm going to use a podcast that I'm actually on. Me and my friends do this podcast, so if you want to, please go over there and give it a follow. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click the most recent video and we're going to see if we can find some clips from that. So the first thing you want to do is start from the beginning of the podcast, and as you work your way through the podcast, have a separate document up, like a Word document, where you can jot down the time and the subject they're speaking about. So as you can see here, I've pulled up a separate document that I can just jot down what I want. So you can title it literally anything as podcast 1, for instance. What you want to do is you want to go from the beginning and just listen to what they're saying. You can skip the intro, obviously there's not going to be anything interesting in there, but from there write down the sort of basis of what they're doing. It doesn't have to be wordy, just a few words, just so you know when you can go back to look through what you're actually looking for. Right, so as a quick example, I've just wrote down kind of what the first sort of 11 minutes are. You can really break down this third segment here, but we'll go from the beginning. As you can see here, I've just put down intro rambling on the first 2, just so when I go back, I don't need to watch from the beginning. I can literally just skip to what part I know. So as you can see here, from 1:30 to 11 minutes, they're talking about the top 5 fast food brands. Now you can even put that down into smaller subsections to each fast food that they do. So obviously they're going to do 5, which means that you can do it into 5 subsections of each brand. Now that's just an example. Obviously you want to do the whole podcast and just go through the whole thing and split it up. So when you do come to clipping it, you can just click to certain points where you believe could be the best areas that are going to do well for clips. Now, when you're clipping from a podcast, you want the clip that you're doing to hit a certain type of genre or category, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I look for if there's some sort of story arc. So in general, you want a beginning, so whether it's a question or an opening statement, which generally needs a fairly good hook. So for instance, it could say something very controversial in light with the current affairs in the United States with the general election. Let's say on the podcast, someone said, this is the vile things Donald Trump said about. That's the type of hook that can get someone interested because it's relevant to what's going on in the world right now, and it could be seen as controversial depending on what he's going to say. So for most people, they're going to see that as something they want to listen to more. So in the first 3 seconds, that is going to be your hook. You need something that's going to hook the person in to then keep them watching. So this is the beginning of the story arc. The next point is you need the upward trajectory of whatever it's going to say or whatever the people are saying on the podcast. This could be them explaining the point that they've just spoke about in the hook. So this, for instance, could be what Donald Trump has been saying about people. Depending on if there's multiple people in the conversation, this could be your midpoint where they could potentially be debating or agreeing with the point, which could add more fuel to whatever it is to keep people watching. And then ultimately you need the climax and the ending, which makes a good overall loop and it gives the viewer satisfaction when watching the video. Now there isn't necessarily a good length of clip. I've seen clips that are 10 seconds go viral, and I've also seen clips that are 4 minutes go viral. It all depends if you can hook the viewer in at the beginning, keep them watching until the end of the video, and keep them interested. So ultimately, to look for the hook of the video, you want something that's either controversial, a good statement, ideally something that just sparks emotion. So controversy can cause anger. It could be something happy, it could be something sad. But there is one little trick that I hinted at the beginning of the video that I'm going to tell you now, which is the easiest way for clips to go viral without a doubt. And it is so simple, and it's literally starting with a question. It sounds silly. It gives you more chance to go viral because it feels like you're sucking the viewer in. You're asking them a question. They want to find out if they can answer it or if it gets resolved at the end. The story arc. So I flicked through some of this podcast and I found where there is potentially a question that would spark something in the viewer. Just listen.
Also, would you take into consideration the fact that COD's had its glory days?
Yeah.
Would you take into consideration that COD has had its glory days? Some people might sit there going, No. And then this is the best bit. You want them to engage. You want them to add a comment, whether they agree or they disagree, which then sparks outrage or sparks engagement into your comment section, which boosts your video even more. They might share it with their friend. That will boost it even more. It's little things like this is what's going to make the podcast clips go crazy. The main thing you want to look for is getting the most engagement. The more engagement, whether it's follows, likes, comments, shares, will show to TikTok and the algorithm that your video is the one that's getting the traction for some reason. So it will push it out more to more people. All you want to do is keep people on TikTok's platform. That's all they care about. They want you on their platform for as long as possible. And it literally is as simple as that. Just try. I'll link this podcast down below and see if you can create any clips from it. Well, that is everything. This is just part one of a series of videos I'm going to do, basically going from beginning to end, starting off with how you find your podcast clip. The next video will be the basics of CapCut, and then it'll be how to edit podcast clips on CapCut, which will ultimately help you go viral. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like. Make sure you sub. We're so close to 1,000 followers, 1,000 subs. And if you need any more help, drop a comment down below and I'll try and answer them for you.